Here is how to use simplicity to your advantage. Most people wanting beats want something catchy, repetitive, but still interesting to your ear. In today's video, I'm going to break down the beat No Tomorrow, which is in the description and up there, which I'll show you a preview of right now. We're going to be taking advantage of simplicity, so not really overcomplicating things. Now, the first sound that I selected for this beat was a bell sound. Now, I'm going to take this off the mixer track so you can hear it. What I did for the chords, this beat is in F minor. If you want these scale highlights, you can click up here, click view, then click note grid highlights, make sure that's got a tick, and then you can change your scale here. So what I did here is basically drew an F minor chord. Now, if you don't know a minor chord, it goes 1, skip 2, and then skip 3 to make a minor chord, and I got rid of the middle note. And you can see what I did here. The middle note is actually G sharp. So as you notice, the note that we cut out from the chord, I've put 1 octave higher right here and placed a note just before it. Now this creates dissonance, and dissonance is a lack of harmony, and this gives it more of a dark kind of feel. So let's listen to the sound without any effects. So it's not that interesting. So what we can do first is add an instance of halftime. So this is on the 1/16 setting at 2 times. Now this completely changes the vibe and darkens the sound instantly, which is what we're trying to go for. And we're trying to keep it as simple as possible. After this, I added some reverb to give it like an open sound. So if you hear it, it's very like closed, but then it kind of opens up like that. Then I added this free plugin called Delay. Now this is an amazing delay plugin, which is completely free. So let's listen to what delay does. So this specific mode is delaying the sound, and the first delay is reversed, and then all the other delays are very, very, very quiet. So if you listen, so it reverses the sound, and it gets it from sounding very simple and basic to a more full sound. Next up, finally, I added an EQ just to remove all the bass. Now, the reason I removed the bass from the sample is because we want to add in our own bass and we don't want it to clash. The next thing I did was add a bell layer. So let's go back here and find our bell layer, which is right here. So we're going to remove the effects and I'll show you what it sounds like. So again, it's a very high, it's a very light sound, right? It's not very dark at all. Ooh, my glasses are dirty. I can see. So that's the sound without, and what it's playing there is it's just layering the chords. Well, it's not really a chord, it's a chord without the middle note. So it's layering F and C from our first sound. So if we add on the effects, once again, I've used the halftime plugin on the exact same settings and cut the bass once again. So now let's listen. It just kind of adds that impact on each, and this is just repeated over the whole thing. Now next up, keeping things simple, I added in a guitar. So this guitar sounds like this, and I went over to the bell and I copied it and pasted it in guitar sound and extended the notes a little like this. So now if we listen with the bell, you can kind of hear how the guitar is the main leading instrument and the bell can work as more of an accent in the background. And these two sounds blend very well together. The fourth sound again is another accent. Now this is a little more complex. So I've called this Twinkle, and this once again has halftime but different settings. And I'll explain this in a minute. We're going to go ahead and solo out this sound, these notes, just like in our original one. But then it's doing something creative up here and it's gone. This is meant to be played in halftime. If we listen to it without halftime, you're going to notice how it sounds a little weird. So it does sound a little bit weird, but if we add in our halftime here, we kind of only get the after effect of the sound instead of the initial hit, which is exactly what we want for this vibe. Now let's listen with everything together. Now next up, I added some chords. So we've got an Addictive Keys piano here. Let me tell you which setting this is in Addictive Keys. It is the Grand Noir. Let's listen to how it sounds. Now again, keeping things simple with just these basic chords. Now this chord again takes advantage of dissonance. The idea of this is just to make the beat a little more full. So now if we layer it with everything else, you can see how all these simple sounds work together to make it sound complex and interesting. Now if you listen without the piano, it sounds quite empty, right, in the lower mid frequencies. But then you bring that in and it kind of makes the beat more full. Now the next thing that I added was a string, and I copied the same chords from the piano. Now let's listen to this in conjunction. My opinion, that sounded really good. Now the final thing I wanted to add for this introduction is a sub bass. It's literally just that, to fill up the low end. Now this sub bass is using the oscillator plugin. I actually made this bass, so you can copy all of these settings if you would like to get the exact same sound as me. And also in the plugins up here, I've soloed out all the high end. I've used a wave shaper, a filter, a limiter, and another EQ to slightly boost the sub bass if you want to copy that. But this is still turned way down. So now let's listen to the intro that we've got here. It sounds very full, right? Each frequency is being hit in a certain way. So we've got the guitar near the end, we've got the bells near the end, we've got the piano and the other bell in the mid layers, and then we got the sub to fill up all of the sub and bass. Now if we take a look at our EQ on our master, we can actually see this right here. So all these frequencies are being filled up. Which makes the introduction sound so much better. Now when the beat drops, we have our drums here. Now the next thing that I did for the drop is added in another guitar. Now this guitar gives the illusion that the melody is more complex. So this is what it sounds like here. I know it's labeled as bell. It was initially a bell sound. So this is using the same guitar once again, but instead playing these notes kind of off beat. Now these notes are to counter this melody, so it's called a counter melody, because you know it's countering the melody. Now if we hear it, it makes it sound way more complex just by having this in it. Now the notes that it's playing, if you notice, this is the root note of the chord, this is the top note of the chord, and this is the middle note of the chord. In a lot of the beats that I create, and a lot of these types of beats, I use notes from the chords to keep it simple and not confuse the listener too much. You don't want too many things going on and too many different stuff in these kind of beats where you want to keep it simple. So yeah, so this is why it sounds way more complex, and it drives the audience's attention into the main drop. Because if we just drop without that different guitar here, let me show you. It sounds far less interesting, and obviously there's a lot of tension on the drums, but the drums are quite slow. So having this more complex melody wakes up your audience to be like, whoa, okay, that drop was sick. So yeah, that sounds really cool. Now let's get on to the drums. First off, I started with this kick, and then I brought in this hi-hat. Now these notes, every other note is randomized in velocity to give it some swing. Then next I added a rim, which I think sounds really clean. And on the first hits, I also added a hat, an open hat, and then I added another hat here to go. And then next up, I added an 808. So these drums are once again quite simple. This rim is just hitting on the second and fourth. And then once again, I got a very simple 808 here. And this 808 is just following the root note of our chords up here, which is again F. Now after this initial drop section, I got it to come back with both of the bells to give it a more full sound. And because I taken away the complex side of the guitar, which makes it interesting, I didn't want the beat to sound empty. I'm going to show you what it sounds like now. Now it sounds a little boring, so I decided to add in this second hi-hat, which just plays at the end of each bar. I appreciate you sticking around this long if you have. This beat is really sick. I really like it. It's not too complex, but it's not simple where it doesn't sound interesting. I feel like this is very, very good for an artist to get on. Yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Like and subscribe. Okay, bye.